Hey, what's up? So after my last video about the GH5, I got a few questions about lenses, and I kind of have like maybe a different view on lenses for the GH5 than maybe most people would. I think that if you asked most people who shoot on Micro Four Thirds still what their favorite lens is, it's either going to be the Lumix 10-25 f1.7 or the Sigma 18-35 millimeter with the speed booster. And I happen to have that lens right here. Now, there's nothing wrong with this lens. It's great, but it's heavy and it's pretty big, especially on a Micro Four Thirds body. The allure of Micro Four Thirds to me is the small compact size. And that's why I really do like this little 14 millimeter by Panasonic. This one's great. This is f2.5 and I have this lens hood on here, but as you can see, this is like one of the smallest autofocus lenses for a mirrorless camera that you can get, period. There might be stuff for like the Pentax Q system that are smaller than this, but generally speaking, this is like the smallest lens you can get, and it feels like a body cap, to be honest. And I really like this one specifically for like, traveling or just getting a really nice, small, compact pancake lens that gives you about a 28 millimeter field of view on the GH5. But the lens that I typically recommend to anyone is actually the 12-35, which is a 24-70 equivalent field of view. And this one is nice and small and compact. It's very sharp, and it's got image stabilization, so you can utilize the dual IS of the lens's stabilization paired with the camera's stabilization as well. And to me, I think that this lens is like a perfect combo. I do like that there is options like the 10-25, but that again is about as big, if not maybe even a little bit bigger than this lens. So it kind of defeats the purpose. The reason that I think anyone would want to switch to Micro Four Thirds isn't just the feature set, but it's also the size of the entire package as a whole. If price and weight were an object, then there probably is a lot better options. You could go with like a Sony and get big lenses, big sensor, and call it a day. But I think that the whole idea behind Micro Four Thirds is to be small, and that's why I made the comment of the fact that I didn't necessarily like the size of the GH6 and GH7 because they're essentially the same size as my S5 IIX. In fact, you could probably argue that they might even be a little bit bigger because they have that tilt out and up LCD screen. And honestly, this isn't the biggest camera ever. Like, it's not huge. As you can see, it actually fits my hand really, really nicely. So it's not really that much bigger than the GH5, but as soon as you start putting lenses on this, unless you want to use the little kit lens 18-40 or whatever that they released, you're going to be putting a pretty big lens on this camera, and it's just going to start getting really cumbersome really fast. And I'm still kind of at that crossroads that I was, a year and a half ago when I first started posting more camera related videos on this channel, was that I love this camera a lot. Like, the image coming out of this is objectively superior than the one that comes out of my GH5. When it comes to like, dynamic range and image detail and stuff like that, I find myself shooting with the GH5 more just because I like this lens, to be honest. And I just like how small everything is. And it's just more of a convenient camera than this. Not to mention this has a faster readout sensor than the S5 IIX does. There's a lot of controversy around that whole topic. It doesn't really matter for most of us. Even with one of my newer cameras that I have, it's gotten like 11 millisecond readout sensor. But if you pan fast enough, you're still going to see the rolling shutter effect, even on really, really fast sensors. The only way that you're really going to like alleviate that is going to a global shutter camera like the Red Komodo or something. So I think that that is kind of like it's not really a downfall that most people are ever going to care about. And that's why, I can very easily still recommend the S5 IIX to anyone who wants a good full frame camera. But yeah, if you're trying to get like a really nice compact package, like the GH5, something like the 14 millimeter is great if you're okay with just like fixed 28 millimeter field of view. There's also a 20 millimeter that you can get that's a very similar size. But if you want a really good all around lens for your GH5, you really can't go wrong with the 12-35 f2.8. I have the Mark II version. There's a Leica version that's pretty expensive, which I can't really say you should get because it's not that much better than the Mark II. And even the Mark I is still pretty good if you're okay with having a purple lens. I also like the 25 millimeter f1.7 and I like the 42.5 f1.7 image stabilized lens. Those are two good primes that you could pair with this little 14mm and have a really nice 3-lens prime kit. So I almost forgot, there's 3 other lenses that I can recommend as well. Obviously the DJI 15mm, that one is great. I love that lens. And then the new-ish Leica 9mm f1.7 is really good too. That'll give you a nice wide angle field of view, and it has a really close focus distance. And then if you wanted like a portrait style lens, the Leica 25mm f1.4 is also really good. There's 2 versions of that. The newer version is weather sealed and it has some slightly different coatings, and the older version not weather sealed, but they're both really good. So there's like 3 other options if you wanted to go the Lumix Leica route. Anyways, other than that, I do like to put diffusion filters on them every once in a while. I do have a 1/4 black diffusion filter from Newer that I have in front of my 12-35 right now, but you don't really need it. That's just going to help get rid of some of the moire effect that you can get with a GH5 since it does not have an OLPF. Anyways, it's kind of a rambly video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.